Hey, what do you guys think you're doing? This is Smearensburg, the unhappiest place on earth. And you two can't change that.
The postman and toy maker are brainwashing everyone!
We need to show people that a true selfless act always sparks another.
Hi! What's happening right now?
Oh no.
Holy mother!
What happened?
Not a word. You just sit there, be all magical and awesome.
Yeah, not as magical as awesome as this episode of Cordkillers!
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love, when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, man, and joining us live in studio, we have from Cordcutters News, I'm going to try to say it, Luke Bouma.
That's it.
Nailed it!
Hey.
Man, thank you so much for joining us. We were talking just before we started the show 4 years ago, episode 55.
Yep. The Sling TV yearly preview. It's hard to believe it's been that long.
How did it ever work out for those guys?
So far, it seems to be working out pretty well for them. Maybe not as well as they wanted it to, though.
Oh, no. I was being sarcastic. Obviously, they're crushing it, and they're one of the go-to options for over-the-top
They're looking at
cable replacement.
DirecTV now, or rather AT&T TV now, and thinking, hey, we're doing all right. We're doing okay.
It is funny because I fully intended it as, well, that's funny because they're obviously crushing it, but in a world where so many do fail, you're like, what, is that a dig? I'm like, no, it's not.
No, I almost wonder if they thought they would be doing better, though. I really think they thought they would be much farther ahead than 2 million subscribers.
Because they were so fast out of the gate, Yeah. If you would have asked us in episode 55 where Sling TV would be now, would we have said 2 million subscribers?
I mean, I think I certainly would have hoped for it. They were an early mover, so they had an advantage, and they were one of the first to solve a lot of important problems. And I believe they were one of our very first picks for a credible, just full-on replacement for cable. And we've had different favorites at different times,
and it was definitely my first experience in okay, now I can get channels that allow me to not worry about cutting the cord. That was a big deal.
And I think that would have been even before they had gotten any of the sports licenses. They positioned themselves really well. As
they launched with ESPN. Yeah. That was their big get. Was they were the way to pay $20 to get ESPN. It's $30 now, but it still is the best way to get ESPN if that's all you care about.
Yeah, but that's only $30 until you start counting the fees.
Yeah, no, we all know that really the cheapest way to get television is to keep cable.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, according to the ads, until they count the fees, which is our primary target.
Consumer Reports issued a report called How Cable Companies Use Hidden Fees to Raise Prices and Disguise the True Cost of Service. Its analysis found that companies add $37.11 per month in company-imposed fees to the average bill. These are not government-required fees. We're not counting taxes or anything the government requires them to collect. We're talking about fees that they don't put in their advertised price, but then add to your bills. And here's the kicker. That makes the average that a United States consumer pays for cable $217.42 a month. Consumer Reports analyzed 787 bills from 12 companies, and yes, some of those bills included internet and phone. So of those 787 bills, 426 included internet, 282 included phone. Company-imposed fees are not required by tax or other regulatory requirements in any of those cases. Most of the fees, though, were on the TV portion of the bill and maybe some on the internet. Examples of the fees include a broadcast television fee, which sounds regulatory, right? It's not. They're not required to collect that. There's also the regional sports fee, the HD technology fee, and various convenience fees. It may also include rental charges. If you're renting your set-top box or your modem, that would be included in this extra fee. For instance, Frontier charges you a $10 router rental fee, whether you own your own router or not. It's just a fee that you can't get out of. Consumer Reports, in their very well-researched and very thorough report, recommends that you should cut the cord because over-the-top providers like PlayStation Vue, YouTube TV, Sling TV do not charge the hidden fees and do not require a contract. You pay what they say you're going to pay, you pop in, you pop out. However, they do note that if you cut the TV to get away from those fees, you should expect more fees to start showing up on your internet bill if you're getting your internet through a cable provider.
So also for the record, it was another joke I was making about Sling having fees. They don't have fees. That's sort of the whole point of over-the-top cable networks. So Luke, how much do you know about why we have these fees? Because I believe, and I might be making this up, that fees are, in addition to other things, ways to not get taxed. Is that right?
Well, a lot of it's marketing. It's the ability to say, hey, we'll give you TV for $39.99 or $49.99, all these channels, all these devices. Well, but, with Verizon Fios, I'll charging $20 bucks just to rent the DVR. They can really rack up the price real quick. Before you know it, that $49 bill is $120.
Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised that the average cable bill was so high. I think we all, in my mind, if you told me to play Price is Right with a cable bill, I would have said $100 to $150. I don't know, either of you guys, how much do you think the bundles with the phone and internet are throwing off that curve?
Well, 426 of them included internet, 202 included phone. It's right there in the numbers. You don't have to guess. That's how many are added to this, which means that, a large majority of these do have bundles. But if you're figuring up your phone and internet costs, you can go and bundle phone and internet a lot of times, or decide if you don't need phone. That's a key one. And then subtract the TV amount. It'll be a much larger proportion of what you're paying than you thought. And $217.42, even with internet included. Most people can get decent internet for $30 to $50 a month, broadband internet that can support TV. So knock that out of there. Now you've only got a third of these, including phone. You're definitely paying the majority of this $217 for your television service. And if you now say, okay, I've got all these fees I wasn't thinking of, I've got cables, I've got streaming services that I pay for, whether I have cable TV or not, things like Netflix that you don't save money by getting rid of cable because you already paid for Netflix. There's a lot of money being spent on cable television that doesn't give you the flexibility and the transparency that cord cutting does. I have been saying it's more about control than saving money. This report really made me go, you know what? I think for more people than I expected, it's about saving money.
I think the Consumer Report was very light on them. I thought they could have gone a lot higher in the total cost of those fees because the franchise fee, which is a fee that the city of Austin will charge Spectrum to come into the city and run the wires to the city, is a fee that Spectrum and Comcast know about. Most companies would bundle that into the cost of the product. You go to a restaurant, you don't pay a fee to drive the food on the truck from the farm to the restaurant.
Yeah, the yearly business permit fee is not added as an extra at the end of your bill. You're right.
I wonder how long until there's a backlash that hits at a legal level. I believe it is illegal for you to sell gasoline unless you display a price that has tax included. I wonder if a case could be made. And you know me, I'm a misty-eyed anarcho-libertarian. I'm no fan of government regulation, but I figure the angry mob at some point has to say, knock it off. Quit saying $99.
There are some bills that have gone into the House to force them to do that, to include the cost of a lot of these fees and taxes. Because the HD technology fee, when you advertise HD TV and then you include that, or the broadcast TV fee, when you advertise the locals and then want to charge an extra fee for it, is something that Congress has looked at, but as of right now has not done anything about, sadly.
Yeah. And honestly, part of me wants to say, well, we're not seeing these hidden fees in the over-the-top competitors because they know they can't get away with that. They don't have a de facto monopoly. So we're seeing their actual prices delivered to us. But that hidden fee is going to show up in your internet bill. So I don't know, maybe there will continue to be a push to say they need to tell us what they're charging in the advertisement. The way that they have successfully pushed for, you have to tell us what the speeds are in the advertisement. You can't say up to a gigabit and then deliver 300 megabits per second.
Yeah. And that is the bummer, that these fees Because if they're already charging them, and my guess, I wouldn't be surprised if increasingly the fees had labels that had less to do with cable programming, just so that they've secured their position. Because everybody knows if you're shifting to over-the-top cable networks, then you still got to have a dumb pipe internet to get there.
It is interesting seeing the new AT&T TV service include those fees, which is basically a direct TV streaming online with a contract, but it's got those like broadcast TV fees and more. And if you pass the first device, there's even a set-top box fee with it. Let's see how successful AT&T is with this cable streaming version.
Yeah, I know.
I got a question.
A really good
How
point.
big a deal is it that this is not just yet another report or yet another blog or opinion piece? Or, I mean, we've of course seen reports like this from Cordkillers News. How much does it matter that this is Consumer Reports? This is reaching out to a lot of folks who normally wouldn't be outraged. Or, we obviously were price sensitive, we were choice sensitive early on. But how big a deal is it that it's Consumer Reports?
I think it's important because it's one more factor. Because how many times have you heard, oh, you might as well just stay with cable because it's cheaper? And then when you really push them why, it's like, I heard it somewhere in my local TV. And I could be like, hey, Consumer Reports right here, breaks it down. It's not cheaper. You got all these fees.
I think that is the key here. Is that Consumer Reports put their stamp on it and did the homework so that you can look at it and say, hey, wait a minute. All these think pieces, these opinion pieces that you see at various outlets that say, well, really, cutting the cord isn't cheaper, aren't doing this level of work. And now there's something you can point to and say, hold on, if you want to have an actual number to compare to, look at this. And really my challenge to people is go to suppose.tv and pick the channels that you have to have. It's got a great interface for that. Put in your zip code, find out what's available in your area, because not all the plans have all the local channels. So you may not have as many to look at. Find out how much that package is that will get you the channels you need. Then go to your cable bill. Don't go like, well, I think I pay $50 a month. That's what it was advertised. Go to your cable bill and look at how much you're actually paying for television, how much you're actually paying with those fees that you can get rid of. Then compare your prices. I think a lot more people than not will realize that they could save some money.
And we've talked about this a million times before. On top of everything is the ease of cancellation and then resumption of your service. If you really are only going to watch, one AMC show for the 2 or 3 months that it's on the air, then only get the service for that amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, and the truth is, give it a try. If you're unhappy, they'll always take you back. But I find most people won't go back. Once they do it, once they spend a couple weeks there, they're not going back to cable.
Oh, that's great. That's right. You can try another internet package or go back to the cable company and get one of them sweetheart, new customer deals, right? If you've been out long enough. So, I think this is something that I'm going to start thinking of is like, okay, your average bill is $217.42. Tell me that you can't cut the cord, keep internet, and add streaming services and not save money. That's for some people it won't. I'm not saying it'll work for every single person, but I think it'll work for more people than not. And then what are you going to do with all that saved money, Brian?
Oh my gosh. Well, it seems to me like you ever go to a bar and order a beverage and then you leave a little thing called a tip. It's called a thank you for giving me the thing that I wanted. And then look, if we end up saving you some money, if we end up giving you a little tip off on how to watch what you want, when you want, on whatever dang device you choose. Yeah. How about a little tip? How about, $1 an episode? That's all we ask. And you can do that by heading on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers, where you can join the 1,290 beautiful bosses over there as we continue to grow and expand and bring you the news that you so desire.
Yes. Thank you, folks, for continuing to keep us in business at patreon.com/Cordkillers. Let's talk about how to watch. TiVo did, in fact, launch the TiVo Edge for cable and TiVo Edge for antenna last week, even though they'd already sent a box to somebody ahead of time. The Edge supports Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision HDR. TiVo Edge for antenna is $350 plus $7 a month for the guide, or you can pay $250 lifetime. There's also a discount yearly on both these boxes. The TiVo Edge cable is a little pricier because it's got to have that cable support in it. $400 for the box, $15 a month for the guide, or $550 lifetime. TiVo also launched the TiVo Plus streaming service. That's the one we've talked about before that will collect a bunch of free programs from a lot of providers and put it together in a streaming channel for you, very similar to things like the Roku channel, for instance. But there it is. TiVo is back. back with a new box. Yay.
It is interesting to me. We just sung the praises of all the over-the-top networks because they're like a light switch. Turn them on, turn them off, or whatever. And the thing that jumps out to me is this traditional pricing of hundreds of dollars plus a monthly fee. Is that problematic nowadays, do you think? Or...
I definitely think it hurts TiVo. The idea that I can go get a Tableau DVR, typically around $100 when they're on sale for the light version, and just have it stream out to my Roku or my Fire TV, versus $300+ for an Edge. It's holding them back because Cordkillers are price conscious.
And if you are a DIYer, I don't think there's any way you look at this as something you want. Even with the great interface and TiVo One is excellent. I don't think this streaming service is going to help push you over the edge. I mean, you can go to Amazon and get a tuner DVR situation if you needed something that was a bigger brand and you don't want to even DIY it. So I don't want to go out on a limb and say this is the last model that TiVo will ever see, but it may be.
It feels to me like they're increasingly just getting caught in the mushy middle, where it's like they're not the dead simple grandma could do it solution, but they're also not the. Well, I don't know. I don't want to disparage TiVo.
I think they're still kind of the dead simple grandma could do it solution, but it's more and more few. There are fewer people that need that anymore. Yes,
and also I like I was talking about, the steepness of the entry fee to even get started. Nowadays when a lot of families are giving grandma their old iPads or their old whatever equipment, and it's easy just
or grandpas or perhaps even just someone your own age. Doesn't have to be senior. No, I hear Allison Sheridan yelling at us right now, so we'll stop that. But Rob Dunwood last week, his mother-in-law, he talked about giving her a Fire TV stick. He didn't talk about giving her a TiVo. I think that's a great example right there.
They almost want to be the high end. The guy who's like, I want to cut the cord because I hate the cable company, but I have all the money in the world. It's not about saving money. It's more about saying, oh, forget you, Comcast or Spectrum. I'm going to leave just because I don't like you, not because I want to save money.
Well, and there's also the TiVo Edge for cable, which is I want to buy a device of my own, despite the fact that my cable company is charging me rental on devices anyway. Like that's even a smaller slice of people that want to do that.
Yeah, there is something that sort of drives you to irrationality in that point, where it's like, well, if I'm going to pay for the thing, even though it's a better solution, I don't want to feel like a sucker by paying for a thing that I don't even have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We also got some new stuff from Roku. Roku announced a Walmart in-house version of the smart soundbar and wireless subwoofer that will be sold under Walmart's On brand. That's On with two N's. Each one of these costs $129 in the On version versus the Roku version of the smart soundbar and wireless subwoofer that we talked about previously as $180. So you save $50. Now, you save $50. It's not just the same box with the On brand on it. The On soundbar is 40 watts peak power, not 60 watts, and ships with a typical infrared remote, not the voice-controlled remote that you get with the Roku soundbar. And the On subwoofer is 150 peak watts of power compared to 250. So if you want the higher powered speakers, you're going to want to go get the Roku ones. But for Walmart shoppers that don't care about that sort of thing, this might be a good bargain. And one cool new feature that Cordkiller News tipped us off to, thank you, Luke, was that in Roku OS 9.2, interactive pop-up ads now may show up during your commercial breaks when you're watching cable or over-the-air on Roku TVs. You can stop the practice by turning off the use information from TV input setting, but that will also turn off recommendations of more ways to watch if you care about that.
So to the different powers and the more affordable On-branded one, man, this may be a reach, but it's tempting to think like, oh, this is artificially limited or they're using cheaper components or whatever. But it occurs to me that in general, people who are more price sensitive, and this is such a reach, but are more likely renting in an apartment than, in a giant palatial McMansion. And so they probably don't want, there's probably some magic number where it's like, at that point, you're just asking for trouble on volume. So weirdly, it's like, well, I'll never need more than 40 watts because I don't want to bring the wrath down on me.
I got the Roku's regular soundbar and subwoofer in my office. I just got the review unit. It's really nice. Honestly, toning it down a little bit for some people will be more than perfect. If you, like you said, like apartment, smaller living room, the Roku speakers are almost overpowered. I had to turn mine way down in our review lab, or it was just blowing out the walls.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think for a lot of people, they'll see $129, they'll see a sound bar, has Roku built in, they'll think this is great, right? And I don't think this is the kind of thing where you have to warn people off of it, unless you are somebody who thought you were going to get that exact 60 watts or 250 watts. You should know about that. How do you guys feel about the interactive pop-up ads showing up during your commercial breaks?
Well, in general, I'm not a fan of ads, Tom. but I think it's an interesting trade-off. The idea that you could disable it, but you also disable, like they sort of indicate, hey, bro, it's a two-way street. If you want our support to guide you through everything, and then all you got to do is
these are ads showing up over ads. So to me, this is not as egregious as it sounds. Like if you end up watching an HP ad and a little thing pops up that says, hey, you want to buy an HP thing? Click your remote. I'm not going to care at all, right? If that shows up over my content, whole different matter. I
am not entirely sure because there is a loudness to the experience. Imagine going to I don't know, it's like somebody talking during a movie, which is a weird thing to say about an ad, but it's like what I hate ads the least when they are as direct and honest as pure, or they tell a narrative story, or they capture an emotion or whatever. Like imagine, the old long distance ads designed to tug at your heartstrings, but also there's a guy in the corner saying, click here if you want to get the long distance. And it's like,
but they're not saying it. It's no different than the phone number showing up.
Visually, you're saying though, it's visual barf, and I'm not, and it takes something away out of the vignette that they were trying to make.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was just watching football on Saturday. All of a sudden, this pop-up came. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. The local TV station has a Roku kind of logo on the commercial. Then I realized, no, wait a minute, that's my Roku TV doing it. So I hopped up, ran over there to take a picture before the commercial ended. At first, I was really turned off at first by the idea of it. But this is what ATSC 3.0 is supposed to be. The idea that you're going to have interactive over-the-air TV. And to see that there, I think would be a pretty cool. It's like almost a preview of that. Now, some people won't like it. It's going to be on cable and on your antenna. So if you're paying for Comcast or Spectrum using a Roku TV, you're going to see it. I don't know. I'm kind of drawn on this. I like it because, if it keeps my Roku TV cheap, if it keeps my Roku player cheap, that's great. But it's also one more interactive ad that's going to pop up on me.
Sounds like work to me. Sounds like they're handing me work.
No, I don't think it is. I think the key was that Luke didn't realize it was a pop-up ad. But because he actually works in this industry and thinks about this stuff, which may be your bane, Brian, he noticed it and was like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem... I think most people are just not even going to notice it unless it works for them. And they're like, actually, I do want to know more about that. Click. Here I go.
Here's a weird one to remember. It almost reminds me of like when episodes of Friends would go into syndication, they would go back and after the fact paint on various brand logos onto the various beverages and devices that they were using. And again, like you mentioned, Tom, most people would never notice it, but I don't know. I'm against it. I don't like it.
I'll be, and here's my last point on this. I think for all of this gnashing of teeth we're doing over it, most people are not going to click because they're not going to leave their program. Or they're not even going to be in the room because there's a commercial on. I don't know.
Which
if these
makes
end
me
up being
wonder
very effective.
How powerful of a value proposition this is. This sounds like
this may just go away on its own.
This sounds like the kind of thing that will kill in the boardroom, get everybody excited, and no consumers will touch or use.
Yeah, and then it just goes away because, well, nobody's using it. So, yeah, we will see. Finally, Amazon launched its FreeTime Kids service for Fire TV. FreeTime is a service that lets your kids take advantage of a bunch of stuff. It's parental control stuff. So if you have a Fire TV stick, you can now access FreeTime content through that. It is coming very soon to the Fire TV devices, and Fire TV Edition TVs should be getting it after that. FreeTime lets parents set content restrictions as well as age and time limits. And if you pay for FreeTime Unlimited, you also get ad-free access to kids' movies and TV shows.
I mean, I as a lazy parent, I love this. How about you, Luke?
I have a 6-year-old daughter who absolutely loves watching YouTube on the TV. So this, plus the new YouTube Kids app coming to the Fire TV, could make the Fire TV one of the best devices for parents with kids. The ability to control what they watch, remove the regular YouTube, but still let them watch their YouTube Kids programming. I'm sold. I'll replace my Roku TV with a Fire TV for my daughter's room any day to do that.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
It's all about location.
Under surveillance.
A full trailer for Star Trek Picard was shown at New York Comic-Con with a premiere date for the 10-episode season now set for January 23rd, 2020. The trailer shows more appearances by other Star Trek characters. If you're into that sort of thing, you're going to want to watch it.
Tom, you know my position. I'm already all in. So this is one that I did not watch, but I would love to hear what it did to your enthusiasm, because I know you're already over the moon for everything we've seen on Picard, right?
I mean, well, yes. I'm excited for Picard. It looks great. I love these guest appearances. They look well handled. It was fun to see these little cameo appearances, and I can't wait to see them play out. And I also made sure I watched it because we were going to talk about it on the show. So there's that too. I would have definitely watched it anyway, though. I'm very excited. What about you, Luke?
I'm excited to finally be going forward. It feels like we kept going backwards in Star Trek to finally see, okay, what happens next? What happens after the movies? So I'm sold. I'm going to be there watching it.
Yeah, I like the idea that they are handling a Star Trek Next Generation reunion by not having a Star Trek Next Generation reunion, but telling a story about one of the most interesting characters in that universe, and hopefully figuring out where those characters that he knows naturally fit into the story. So we get the fun of seeing, oh, look, it's Riker. What happened to him over the years? But in a way that feels motivated, not like, and now we're walking the old Admiral down the hallway so that we can get a cameo, which is actually what happened in the first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
What kind of odds? What are the Vegas odds of how well they handle? Because almost certainly part of what they're going to do is introduce a bunch of hopefully interesting characters, and they got their fingers crossed that after Picard ends, that it's like Picard's family, the generation continues. Like, how transparent do you think they're going to be with? How good do you think they're going to pull that off?
I don't think they need to, and they very well may not.
What?
This is
I don't believe that.
This is a new era. With CBS All Access just wants to get people to come in and watch Picard and then watch other Star Trek stuff. They've got 5 other Star Trek series in development. They don't have to force it like broadcast did. We're like, well, okay, if we're not going to get Patrick Stewart, we're going to have a spinoff to fill that time slot. No way. They just want people to be excited about Star Trek. This could very well be like 10 episodes done, and that's it.
I think they could run into the Star Wars problem, though, where all these books came out that told this great in-depth story, and the hardcore fans knew it. And then the movie said, never minded the books. Forget them. They didn't happen. I wonder if Star Trek may run into the same problem a little bit there.
I have been an apologist for the way they handled the whole books thing. And I know it's frustrating. I loved the expanded universe and Star Wars during the 90s, but they needed to right a ship, and they needed to communicate what they were getting down to brass tacks. Now, then they went on to do less than great movies like Rogue One and so on. So I don't know where we're at on the Star Wars side of things, but I don't know, man. I mean,
Star Trek already did this by declaring an alternate universe and recasting all the parts. Yeah. That seems to be what they decided they were going to do. How much of that was motivated by Paramount having the rights to the movies and CBS the TV shows? That'll be interesting to watch when those two remerge. There was also a new teaser trailer for Star Trek Discovery showing the crew dealing with arriving 930 years from the present. We did not get a premiere date for Discovery, but maybe we got a clue because the first of the short Trek mini episodes was released showing Spock's first day on the Enterprise, and new short Treks are going to arrive October 10th, November 14th, December 12th, and January 9th. Which sounds like that will stop shortly before, well, certainly before Picard appears, but maybe before Discovery appears.
Turns out you're wrong. They do all 4, and then it's 5 more months of nothing.
Yeah. Who knows? I wouldn't be shocked, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty strong clue.
There's also a trailer for The Expanse showing the crew of the Rocinante preparing for a challenge to explore through the Ring Gate. While JFK does the voiceover. It's just the excerpt from a historical speech about space. Season 4 of The Expanse coming to Prime Video December 13th, 2019.
Man, I got to get caught up on Expanse. I feel bad.
I am so excited. I read the books before I saw the TV show. They're doing a really good job of taking the books content and turning it into a show and honoring the books really well.
Yeah, I feel bad because I thought the show was so good that I started reading the books and I'm like, this is just the show.
Yeah, the way they change things is always something that I nod my head and go, yeah, okay, that's a good choice. That's a good choice for visual. That's a different way of telling the same thing in a more efficient way. Having Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank in the writer's room, I think, has certainly helped with that. And those are the two writers that make up Jane's Essay, Corey, that did the books. So yeah, I'm excited to see this next book, not even chapter, but several chapters turned into television shows. We got a trailer for Birds of Prey. That's the DC movie starring Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, alongside Black Canary, Huntress, and Detective Renee Montoya, trying to save Cassandra Cain. That's one of the many people that turn into Batgirl in the comics. The villain is Black Mask, and Birds of Prey comes out February 7th, 2020.
Is there any Joker presence, you think?
No. In fact, in the trailer, right off the bat, she talks about how she and the Joker broke up. And that's that. It is definitely the Jared Leto Joker that she's talking about, because Joker, the movie that's out now, is standalone. It's not in this universe. And in fact, it's not even clear that Birds of Prey is more connected to anything else than just that one sort of obvious homage to Jared Leto's Joker.
Right.
Anybody excited for Birds of Prey? No?
Nope.
Yeah. Man, I love Harley Quinn. So I am excited. I looked at this and was like, oh yeah, no. The one thing I liked from Suicide Squad was Harley Quinn. So if you take that and make an entire movie around it, that sounds awesome. So I am excited.
And to be honest, when I go see this, because I certainly will, and the question was not necessarily will I see it, but as for right now, I just don't have a big association with Harley Quinn, but I do dig everything that Margot Robbie does. So I look forward to seeing her perform in what I'm told in a movie that doesn't have a bunch of other people who aren't Margot Robbie.
I'm excited to see it.
Oh, you are? Okay, good. What did you like Suicide Squad? Why would I ask that? Anyway, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I necessarily didn't care for Suicide Squad, but I'm excited to get a fresh take of this character. I think it's a great character that I just felt like never has had its due in a good movie. So I got my fingers crossed that the character will finally get what it deserves in a movie.
I think it's been super smart for DC to just go loose on the extended universe and be like, yeah, you can refer to another movie if you want, but don't feel like you gotta. We can make these standalones, because that is really hard. If we've learned one thing, what Kevin Feige and the team at Marvel have done with their extended universe, with their cinematic universe, is very difficult.
But also
and
not only
easily
is it
replicated.
Very hard to do. Now that we've seen it done so well, I'm realizing, and we'll talk about this when we talk about Joker. Not necessary. We don't need a consistency. There was no consistency in all of the Greek mythologies. There was just tales like, who Hercules is. This happened to him. And it's like, wait a minute, that's totally inconsistent with this other story. Yeah. It's like, shut up.
Box office receipts were smaller for Aeschylus, but if you adjust for inflation and an entirely different civilization, it's comparable. And finally, Sesame Street's moving from HBO to HBO Max, starting with season 51 of the show for 35 episode seasons. There will also be some annual specials and a docu-series involved there too. HBO Max will also create a Sesame Street hub where you'll be able to access episodes selected from all 50 seasons of previous Sesame Street episodes. And as before, episodes will continue to appear on PBS and PBS Kids on a delayed release date from when they appear on HBO Max.
Yeah, my guess is your kids aren't chomping at the bit like, what is this old trash? I want the latest on my Sesame Streets.
Yeah, no, they haven't been. Sesame Street's been on HBO for a couple of years now, right? And this makes sense, though, because it was always weird when I'd be flipping through HBO Now and I'd, see all these adult movies and Righteous Gemstones and Game of Thrones and then Sesame Street. This makes sense. One of the things that makes sense for HBO Max to exist for is to house this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll legit say this is the first content acquisition that I've heard for HBO Max that has made me feel like, all right, maybe they're not as crazy as I thought.
I mean, you throw in a bunch of classic Warner Brothers cartoons alongside of this, and you could definitely make a case for HBO Max for parents.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good call because as we've talked about, as parents, what we want is a protected ecosystem with quality content that we trust to let our kids loose to play around in. I think it's a good call.
All right, got a bunch of notes here just to let you know what's going on. AMC renewed The Walking Dead for an 11th season, and guess what? Lauren Cohen's going to return as Maggie. If you don't know, she left the show after the first 5 episodes of season 9, so she's coming back. M. Night Shyamalan's Apple TV Plus show Servant has a trailer out. That show's about a couple who hire a nanny to look after a therapy doll after the loss of their child. It arrives November 28th, I expect with a twist. The Snowpiercer TV series will not show on TBS. We reported that previously because Warner Media said they were moving it to TBS. It'd be TBS's first drama because TBS is comedy. Well, they changed their minds. Snowpiercer will show on TNT in spring 2020 as originally planned. You can forget all the TBS stuff. The first of Fandango Now's IMAX enhanced content arrived with Spider-Man Far From Home, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, and more, available on Sony 4K Android TVs in the US. Very specific audience can get these IMAX enhanced versions. More devices and titles to come, though. Six Underground, starring Ryan Reynolds, directed by Michael Bay, coming to Netflix on December 13th. They've got a trailer out for that. Pluto TV launched an entire Degrassi channel if you want to watch a young Drake. Hulu has a trailer for season 2 of Castle Rock coming October 23rd. Ava DuVernay has signed on to direct the pilot of an HBO Max series based on the DMZ comics. And ESPN Plus has the rights for Germany's Bundesliga soccer matches starting August 2020.
Man, so much good television. I can't keep up anymore. Speaking of which, what is one of the one things that you watched this week, Luke?
I've been racing through Breaking Bad on Netflix, trying to get ready for the new movie later this week. I'm excited. I was a huge Breaking Bad fan, so more Breaking Bad content is amazing. Do
you find yourself, what new stuff have you found yourself discovering that you didn't see the first time or didn't land?
You know, some of the side stories really stand out more when you rewatch the content. So if you haven't watched it, there's enough there to justify maybe 2 or 3 rewatches on Breaking Bad.
Oh man, I think we missed an opportunity for spoiler time, Brian.
Oh, you know what? I mean, considering how long we've been doing this show, going back to when we were watching Breaking Bad the first time, I don't know that I have it in me to do a whole nother lap.
Oh,
just
I totally
for no
could.
other
That's
reason, because I
hilarious.
can't handle the howls of everyone saying, "Why aren't you watching this other thing?"
Yeah. Well, that's great. El Camino coming out this Friday. So hurry up, folks. Catch up with Luke.
Are you going to see it in the theaters, Tom?
You know, I was going to, and then I forgot that I was going to until just now when you said that. So I guess I'll have to look up where I can find it.
I hadn't even thought about it, and then I noticed that the little theater across the street from us was going to do a showing, and I thought,
really?
just for the novelty of seeing a Netflix on a premiere night, I think I want to do that. Especially like we talked about, being in the room with a bunch of people who loved the thing that we're watching just as much as we do. That's something that you can't get at the home Netflix experience. And also, I believe Alamo Drafthouse is doing showings universally.
I'm trying to see when it will be showing near me. Oh,
Jackie is saying no tickets in LA. I think they're not doing any big chains.
Alamo Drafthouse, downtown LA.
Oh yeah, you guys have an Alamo.
And ArcLight Beach Cities, which is over in Manhattan Beach. Those are the only 2, though. Not conveniently available in Los Angeles. The thing I had my eyes on this week, other than the stuff we'll talk about on Spoilerin Time, like Righteous Gemstones and such, which we will also talk on Spoiler Time, was Joker. We will not be spoilery here, but I see that also is the thing that kind of dominated your viewing for the week too, Brian.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far in depth because obviously no spoilers here, but I think that good art evokes a powerful reaction. And when you look at the reactions online to Joker, people are very angry about it and very upset. And I want to hear why they are so upset by it. And they say the word bad, but I don't know that they mean bad, because the cinematography is gorgeous. The direction's amazing. Joaquin Phoenix, maybe the best acting I've ever seen from him. I was at times deeply uncomfortable, and ultimately I liked it. Now keep in mind, there are people out there who hate it with a vengeance. Let me just say this, if you got a beef with this movie, you got a beef with a lot of other movies, and you have to go back and explain to me why, and we'll talk about this in Spoilerin Time. I will explain all the movies that you have to also have a beef with if you're going to have a beef with this one. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, you echo some of my thoughts here. This is not an enjoyable movie. That is the one thing I can say is you are not going to go into the theater, sit down and go, what a great time I had. Oh boy, that really lifted up my day. This is not that kind of movie. In fact, what this most reminded me of was Reservoir Dogs. I went to see Reservoir Dogs when it was new, and I was living in Champaign, Illinois with my girlfriend at the time. She walked out in the middle. She's like, I can't do it. She's like, it's not a bad movie. I just can't take it. It's too bloody, too gory, and too anxiety inducing. And Joker is not like that in that way. But when we were done watching it, my wife immediately got up. We usually are like Japanese people. We just stay and watch the credits all the way to the end. She immediately got up and started walking without even looking at me and was like, I have to get out of here. And I was like, oh man, she didn't like it. She's like, no, I liked it. It was hard to watch though.
Yes.
I just needed to get out of that theater as soon as possible.
I think that was a lot of people who are saying the words, that was a bad movie, really means that was not fun. That was deeply unpleasant. Those are not the same thing. And I think going back, I remember when Fight Club first came out, I think Rotten Tomatoes was just getting started. I remember Fight Club being in like the low 60s or whatever. Yeah. But that was reviews at the time because people were mistaking the satire for the actual point. They're like, oh, this is all just celebrating, pounding people's face to bloody pulps, which of course it was the exact opposite of that. History was kind to it as people later on kind of got what it is about. And at one point, like it was almost to want to say mid 80s or 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. And now weirdly, because we've seen this cultural pendulum shift, now Fight Club is back down to around 70% positive reviews. So keep in mind that hating a thing and loving the things are just two sides of the same coin. It's there's no doubt 100% of the reviews speak to me by saying it's powerful, whatever it is.
2001: A Space Odyssey was completely panned and hated when it first came out. Now it's considered one of the best movies ever. I wonder if sometimes movies just need to grow on people. See it again, let it sink into your brain. I think The Joker is one of those movies that you need to just think about afterwards.
Well, that sounds dangerously close to someone saying like, you're not smart enough to get Joker. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. But I will say that I want to hear from people who hated it or thought it was, it's fine if you hate it. Don't even talk to me if you hate it. That's fine. I get it. But for anyone who is convinced it's a bad movie, I really have a hard time understanding that. And I would love to hear from you guys, cordkillers@gmail.com.
Well, here's the thing. If you think it's a bad movie, you can prove it, right? You can tell me all the things you think are wrong about it. And it still won't change how I experienced it, right? There's no objective debate to be had about it. So I don't even understand. I don't even feel like it's productive to be like, if you hated this movie and you think it was bad, tell me why you think it was bad, because I'm seeing the arguments from people who think it's bad and they just say it's bad. And they say things about it that I don't think are true. And then it's like, well, you think that's true about this movie and I don't. So, you're left with an unproductive situation. To Luke's point, I think that's because of the context in which people are seeing it. And I think that's why valuations of movies change over time. Where when we come into the theater, we have expectations, we bring in our own stories and what those stories mean to me, and we bring in our collective narrative of what's going on in our world. And Joker is a movie that would be received entirely differently in 2005 than it is in 2019. That may be a good point, is that it is prodding people in ways that make them uncomfortable. Some filmmakers want to do that. Or it may be that, gosh, this wasn't the right time for this. Like, fine premise, but, maybe not tell this story right now. And I think that's why some people are responding that way. We'll like I said, get more spoilery about this in Spoilerin time if you want to hear more about what Brian and I are thinking.
Yeah, we can get into specifics.
I haven't given my one-word review for this movie because a one-word review in this climate with this movie will be taken and used against me as a club for whatever thoughts you have, right? There's so much going on around this movie that has nothing to do with the movie itself.
It is remarkable that I am uncomfortable in unfiltered environments like Twitter, giving my honest opinion about this movie. Like that alone is a remarkable thing. And this is the first time I've talked about anything close to public, and I guess we'll go more in depth. So will you give your one-word review or
on Spoilerin time? I will tell you what my one-word review is on Spoilerin time. Yeah, but I just don't want to put it out there in 280 characters where I can't couch it with all of the things that I mean by that one word, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So, Spoilerin time for the rest of our thoughts on Joker. Let's talk about what you should be on the lookout for.
Hey, we got a recommendation in the inbox from John. John writes, "Thanks for the show. I love the recommendations and have written in before. This time I am recommending the show Superstore. It is available on a service called NBC, which is broadcast everywhere all the time. The show is also available on Hulu after it airs. I love the show because it is very funny, but also has very smart takes on social issues such as the survival of brick and mortar retail, health insurance, unionization, etc. The cast is diverse in many ways, so all issues are explored from many perspectives. Thanks, John." Thanks, John. I've seen bits and pieces of Superstore, but I have heard very good things about it. Kind of in this era where we are after 30 Rock, after The Office, after Parks and Rec. I've heard that Superstore is one of the better NBC comedies out there.
It looks like it's got a Community kind of vibe.
A little bit, because it's that single camera style comedy. It's basically a workplace comedy that takes place in a Walmart. They don't call it Walmart. It's a different thing. But they do have blue vests, so eat at Walmart. So that's Superstore. There are 5 seasons streaming on Hulu right now. If you want to find listings in your country, check your local apps or justwatch.com.
And if you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. We now break for this very special announcement from Brian Brushwood.
Hey, man. I don't think we've given a progress report in a little bit. A couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were talking about this Founders Club for everybody who wanted to actually be a part of the 7 Acre Schwood Diamond Club Studio stuff. And once we mentioned the idea of a Founders Club plaque of everybody's name being on it, a lot of people like that a lot. And so good news. We hit our Stay Alive financial goal. So at this point, I'm not saying we need help or anything, but people are still hitting me up saying like, is it too late? Can I get in? I want to be part of this first thing. So yeah, we're going to keep the doors open. So you can head on over to scamstuff.com and you can join the Founders Club, and I'll keep you guys posted on as we get ready to send out the rewards and set up the plaque, and we'll design all that stuff. It'll be a lot of fun.
What Brian's not telling you is there literally is a vulture sitting outside of the studio right now. And if you don't go to scamstuff.com right now, we can't tell you what that vulture might do.
It's not even a joke. I walked out and there on the soundstage was a vulture looking at me, and I thought, well, that's not good. He goes, oh, is that Man Eagle? Maybe it was just Man Eagle the whole time.
Oh, that's what it was. Never mind. False alarm.
I just got confused.
Right. Let's check in with the front lines.
Front lines.
Hey, Hulu launched the ability to download shows for offline viewing just several years after they said they would. Users can download up to 25 titles across 5 devices for up to 30 days. Titles expire 2 days after you start playing them back. So you can download it and keep it there for 30 days. But once you start playing it, you have 2 days to finish. If you're on the commercial-free plan, you can download the majority of Hulu's catalog. They say like 85,000 titles using Hulu's iOS app. Hulu says it'll bring the function to Android soon, but right now it's only on iOS. And it's only for the people with the commercial-free plan. If you have the cheaper plan with commercials, you can't get the offline viewing option.
Luke, do you have any baseless speculation on why they drug their feet so long on this?
I think they were trying to create a way to put ads into the download, is what they kind of talked about. And I just don't think it ever worked out, and that's why they decided to go with the commercial-free only plan.
Well, and I think there was also on the content creators side, the owners of the content, a reluctance to, unclench their fists because they were so worried about, piracy. But it feels like a lot of that fear seems to be evaporating. I don't know. That's my speculation. Netflix
I think that's certainly still part of it, though, even if it is reduced.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese's film for Netflix, The Irishman, will now show at the Belasco Theater on Broadway from November 1st to December 1st. It is the first film screening ever at the 112-year-old Belasco. The Irishman launches on Netflix November 27th. The whole world has Irishman fever.
brilliant move when the big chains won't take a Scorsese film, even for a few weeks, to say, fine, then we'll rent out one of the greatest Broadway theaters of all time for a month and have a film show there for the first time in its 112 years. Genius.
Yep, totally agreed. And it's that kind of out of the box lateral move, because what you crave is legitimacy. And so by being refused the legitimacy of a theater chain, you purchase that indie superior legitimacy in that whole Hollywood versus Broadway kind of way.
Yeah. I feel like Scorsese got more theater than thou out of this. Like, oh, your chain Cineplex isn't showing The Irishman? Well, I'm going to show it in the Belasco. So take that. The Wall Street Journal sources say Disney will not accept advertisements from Netflix on its entertainment television networks. So like ABC, Disney Channel, etc. Non-entertainment networks that Disney owns, like ESPN, will still accept Netflix ads. Disney told The Verge it reevaluated its strategy to reflect the comprehensive business relationships we have with many of these companies, and it apparently found mutually beneficial relationships between companies with competing platforms like Comcast, Amazon, and Apple, but not Netflix. Wall Street Journal also reports sources say that Disney may not end up launching Disney Plus on the Fire TV because of conflicts over how advertising is handled on the Fire TV platform, although they still got some time on that one, so we'll see.
Luke, I'm not going to lie. I've thought that everything I've heard about Disney Plus so far has been brilliant and on the nose and very, very smart. This feels like a weak move to me, because it screams of fear or inadequacy, and it has that little tinge of unfair practices on it.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix and Disney were best buds a few years ago when all that Disney content came to Netflix. Now they're running away. It's funny. I just got back from Disney World. Everywhere you turned was Disney Plus ads, on the buses, in the parks, everywhere. And then you hear about blocking out Netflix.
Now,
you don't see CBS advertising its shows on ABC either.
That is true, but it's not. I don't know if that's quite a fair comparison, because like it wouldn't be Netflix appearing on Disney Plus or vice versa. We are talking about owned peripheral other.
Okay, you don't
fundamentally
see
different
CBS advertised on the Disney Channel.
Yeah. Okay. But you do see like CBS advertised on Viacom stations or whatever, or whatever. There are broadcast networks that buy ads on other networks.
No, there aren't.
Wait,
when
what?
you see that happen, it is cable avails that the networks can then buy from the cable company. So if you have cable from Spectrum, they have a certain amount of ad spots that they can sell in everybody's channels. And when you see an ad for another network on a network, it's almost 100% in those avail spots.
Yeah, I don't know that never would be the right word, though. That'd be interesting. I bet some fans know some stories for us.
That's what I see this is Disney trying to apply that logic to it. I also think because Disney and Netflix broke up over Marvel that there might be a little bad blood there too.
Yeah, the BBC announced a redesign to its iPlayer service for UK citizens, including more personalization. The redesign will come along with the launch of a longer viewing window for iPlayer content from 30 days to a year. All that sounds like good stuff.
BBC really trying to compete with Netflix in its home ground.
It's funny to finally see competition come to the UK. You know, us in the US have been spoiled because there's been so many streaming services. Now it's come to the UK and BBC scrambling to compete finally. It's great to see.
Also, for fans of watching us and other live shows on Twitch, the official Twitch app now available on Apple TV. Users will be able to live stream games, view clips on demand, and join on-screen chats. Come on, Twitch, give me your Roku app next, please.
I'm interested in trying this out because there was already a good third-party app on Twitch that I've talked about. Maybe it's only on the after app, the Twitchy app. And so it would be interesting to see how the functionality compares between this Twitch one, which probably has access to their ad network, and this third-party one, which is probably a little less feature-rich.
And meanwhile, Quibi founder Jeffrey Katzenberg and CEO Meg Whitman will deliver a keynote presentation at CES on Wednesday, January 8th, 2020 at 9:30 a.m. in Park Theater at the Park MGM Hotel. We at Cordkillers are somewhat disappointed there will not be several 10-minute keynotes strung out over the week that only play between 3 and 4 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, Someone asked, is this the first time CES has ever had a keynote delivered by someone whose product hasn't launched yet? Or like literally the company hasn't launched a product yet? Yeah. I'm like, CES has been around for a while, since the 60s. I'm not going to say never, but I certainly can't remember one.
Yeah, what about you? Are you bullish on Quibi?
I can't wrap my mind around it, to be honest with you, just because there's so much great content out there for free in that 10-minute, sub 10-minute category on YouTube. I just don't understand it.
Now, Luke, I thought you might have something to say about the Twitch app situation. Did you?
Yeah. One of the things I find interesting is Amazon was supposed to cancel the Roku channel, the unofficial one and the official one that's been grandfathered. They haven't. They extended the life of that, which kind of hints that maybe they're working to get something back on Roku right now.
Huh. All right. Fingers crossed. Let's get to the dispatches from the front. Kimberly, the Texas teacher, wrote back in, said, I found Tom's You Can't Read All the Books, You Can't Watch All the Shows comparison right on the nose. I even handle the two the same. I have a running list of books and shows. When I hear about a new one, I add it to the list. When I finish a book, I look at the list, go on to a new one that catches my eye. Books are a little easier, even though my local library is only a 12,000 square foot building with 12 staff and 60,934 books on its shelves. I have access to every book in the county-wide system. At the click of a button, it's sent to my branch, and if the county library doesn't have it, some library in Texas does, and I can get it through interlibrary loan, and that's all free. So shows take a little more time and money. A while back, Brian offered a challenge. Cancel everything and add what you need back, and I did that. Now I subscribe 1 month at a time using gift cards, get points for dollars off gas, or privacy.com. The service goes away after a month, and even Netflix and Hulu are canceled. If I find myself with nothing to watch, I look at my spreadsheet, find the service with the most shows right then, and subscribe. I became a cord cutter around 12 years ago, and my habits have developed since then. I don't need cable replacement services because I don't need background noise, and most of the shows I want are going to be available through the services I used. Honestly, if the show is not going to stream, they probably don't want me to watch it.
Yep. And then meanwhile, Chris writes in saying, hey, on the last episode, Rob Dunwood talked about helping his mom cut the cord. I just cut the cord a couple months ago. I have 2 TVs plus a Fire TV 4K sticks on each. I have he put an antenna in his attic for local channels, has the Amazon Fire recast so he can watch DVR and things from the antenna, see live TV on the Fire TV sticks. Works great and would be a good solution for Rob's mom. He says he plans to get the Disney Plus Hulu ESPN bundle when it's available.
Yeah, I thought about bringing up the recast when we were talking to Rob, and I wasn't sure if that was just too much complication when he's really taking it slow and easy, but maybe down the road. I don't know.
I mean, if it's transparent and mom doesn't have to see any of that, she just, it just works.
Yeah, once he's got it all set up, that's true. It might be fine. I'm thinking of tech support, though, because my experience with those DVRs is you do have to do a little finagling, a little massaging with them from time to time, so... Finally, Jupe wrote in and said, hey, guys, if you're interested, here are some numbers regarding the usage of Disney Plus in the Netherlands. He even has a link to the Dutch article where he pulled the numbers. 8% of Dutch households have registered for Disney Plus. 15% of the 20-year-olds have subscribed immediately. Of the 50 to 66-year-old group, only 3% subscribed. The impression is that it is only 8% because moment of registration, people have to submit a payment method, and a lot of people don't like that. Also, people need appropriate players to be able to use it. Some more stats. Lower educated people, 4% have registered. Higher education people, like graduate school stuff, college, 9%. Also, 15% of Netflix subscribers have registered and are trying Disney Plus. They expect an interesting battle between Netflix and Disney as of 12th of November. 81% of current Disney Plus subscribers are also Netflix subscribers.
Man, I had an extra thought about that Disney refusing to sell ads to Netflix. What if that's an indication that they don't intend to be number 2, but instead it's like we are coming to crush you and we will take the number 1 spot?
I mean, I think Disney always, that makes sense. Disney always wants to be number 1 in everything they do, don't they?
Yeah.
Of all the companies that could do it, Disney is probably the one that could come from out of nowhere and become number 1.
Yeah, they can out-original Netflix's originals.
Why are they allowing it on ESPN then? Is it some regulatory? Is it worry about a lawsuit, something like that? I don't know.
Could be that a lawyer somewhere said, hey, if we're going to take number 1, we need to credibly act like we played fair. So here's a market that we think do that.
And Netflix has said before they don't want to get into the live programming or the sports program. I mean, they have.
There's no competition there.
There's
ESPN in no way.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're Disney and you just want to cut off Netflix, you don't care about what they think. You're just like, yeah, you're off all our channels. But they're like, well, you can be on ESPN. That's
find a way to take their money, I guess, if the demographics are different enough.
I suppose. Well, folks, thank you for joining us. And thank you, Luke, for being with us. Really appreciate you hanging out with us, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great honor.
Where can we follow so much more of your work?
Find us over at CordcarsNews.com. You can also find us on pretty much every major social media at Cordcars News, on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook for daily cord cutting reviews, how-to guides, and breaking news.
Top quality content. I love stumbling across your stuff in the wild. I love when we're just poking around. I'm like, of course, it's another Cord Cutters news story.
Well, thank you.
That is one of my favorite things when I see a story, emblazoned all across Tech Meme and Google News, and it's you guys. You guys are the source. It's pretty great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk to you again next week.
Hey guys, Brian and Tom here, and it's just the same old message at the end of the credits, just like always.
That's right, Brian. Nothing new here except your name showing up.
Oh my gosh,
because
I've got a name.
You just supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, all those $5 donors, look at that. That's your name in pixels. We're gonna make you famous, kid. Put your
There's
name in
some
pixels on
classic
the internet.
names in there, but some of you are new. Some of you aren't there. It's sad. What can they do, Brian?
I mean, they could go to patreon.com/cordkillers and pledge $5 an episode and be one of these amazing people, like this one.
Amazing.
Oh, look at that name right there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.